What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today I'm going to go through this beat that I made on the MPC 1 and want to just kind of show you guys my workflow. This one was actually really interesting. It's pretty fun. I want to show you guys how I do a rough mix in the MPC 1 using the plugins that it provides us with, and just a couple of the mixing track features that there is on the in the MPC 1. So let's jump right into it. The track 1, where I have my samples, as you guys can hear right here. I'm painting, or I'm coloring my pads. Every blue pad is the downbeat, and every white pad is just a continuation of that bar. And every green pad up here, there's some type of vocals going on these up here. So I like to color my pads like this just for organization, and it just helps me while I'm performing different variations to know where everything's at. In order for me to color these pads, you just go to this your menu right here, and you go to color pads, and I have it on fixed and single pad. So every pad that I select, I can choose every color that I want. So that's pretty much it with the samples. And on track 2, I have my drum program. My drum program is obviously, I have all my drums right here. And on my drums, this was actually pretty interesting. And I kind of want to touch up, especially, I want to focus on my kicks, because every beat is going to be different, and every sample is going to sound different. Not all of these kicks are going to sound good with the sample that I'm working with. If you guys haven't seen some of my previous videos, I do talk about how I like to start with a 4-bar drum loop. This is my drum loop that I have going on right here. Pretty basic, pretty simple, but once I have that 4-bar drum loop, I like to go to my sample, and I sequence some type of sample sequence into this beat. And once I play back the sample with the drums, there is times where my kick doesn't cut through the mix, or my kick is just buried, or my kick is not really, like, you can't really feel the kick. And what happens there, and what I like to do is, if my kick doesn't feel right or it just doesn't sound right, I go ahead and switch it with another kick. In this beat right here, if we go to my grid view, this is not the kick that I had initially. The original kick that I had originally when I created this 4-bar drum loop was this one. So I'll let you guys hear what I had original, my original loop. This is the kick that I had. And I ended up changing that one for this kick. And the reason why I did that, because on this original kick that I had, if I play back the whole entire beat with that kick, it just didn't cut through. It just got buried with the sample. Every sample is going to sound different frequencies. So you guys got to pay attention to that. If it just does not cut through the mix, it's not that the kick is a bad kick. It's just probably not the right kick for this track that you're working with. Let's hear the original kick that I had with the beats. So obviously, you can't even hear the kick. I can't feel it. I can't hear it. And on the MPC 1, what you guys can also do is you could hit play on your loop or your sample loop. And as you hit play, I'm going to go to my browser and listen to different kicks on my SD card. If some of them sound good to me, I'll load them up on these pads and use them. this kick sounds amazing. As you guys heard, I'm playing back the beats, and as I'm playing it back, I'm previewing some of these kicks. And whichever ones sound good as I'm listening to my sample, I load those up on these pads, and they just, they cut through the mix so much better versus, some other kicks that don't really cut through the mix. Hopefully that makes sense. That's the kick that I ended up sticking with. And if you guys can tell, I don't know if you guys can tell, but by itself, it doesn't sound that good. There's a little bit of reverb on that kick. I'll show you guys what I did right there, but it's okay. But with the beats, it actually sounds very good. So mixing drums, obviously I'm not doing no heavy mixing in the MPC one, but I am able to get a decent mix out of my drums in the MPC one using the tools that it comes with. But one thing I want to mention, before you start putting any plugins or EQs in your tracks or on your pads, you want to make sure we're selecting the right samples from the get-go. As you guys heard, I had a reverb on my kick. And, it's not something that you would typically do, but in this track, it just felt right. And real quick, I'm going to show you guys how I added reverb to that kick. I'm just adding a little bit of reverb just to that kick and not the whole entire program. But before we add any reverb to an individual pad, we first have to set up our returns in order for us to have an effect right there. So in order for me to do that, I go to track mix, hit that, and up here on your upper left-hand side where it says programs, scroll through where it says returns. And when you guys see returns, you're gonna see you have 4 returns right here, 1 through 4. And you guys can add any effects on these returns. In this case, I'm adding on return 2. As you guys can see, if you guys select return 2, and you guys can go ahead and insert plugins right here. And I inserted this reverb. This reverb is actually a really cool reverb that I've been messing with lately. You go ahead and look at these parameters, but I would suggest you guys listen to it, mess with it to whatever feels right for you guys. Once I set up my reverb on the return 2, then I go to my pad mix. I don't go to track mix. I'm going to go to my pad mix. And in order for you to go to pad mix, you hold down shift and you hit that button, and now you see all your pads individually. You will select each pad and you can add an effect or an insert or even a send on the individual pad. So it's not affecting the whole entire program. In this case, I'm gonna go to my kick, which is right here. And as you guys can see, I'm selected on my kick, and I'm on level right now, but I'm gonna go to sends. Once you hit sends, you'll see at the bottom of sends, it has 4 little dots. And if you guys keep selecting send, it goes through different dots, like it just kind of hovers through. And now remember, we put a reverb on send number 2. So I'm gonna push it till it's on dot number 2. And once it's on dot number 2, I can go ahead and hit that click of that kick. And if you guys click it as a button with this jog wheel, you'll get a bigger visual of what you're sending, and it's actually a lot better. I'll go ahead and hit play, and as I hit play, I'm gonna listen back to how much effect I'm sending. That sounds good to me. It's not a lot, it's just enough to where I could kind of hear it. I might even dial it back a little bit more. I don't want it to be obvious. I want it to kind of cut through the mix. Once I have that selected, I get out of that. That actually sounds good. And now also on my snare, I send some of that snare to the reverb also. So I select my snare, and then I go to my sends while that snare is selected. And you guys can click these buttons right here until you're on send to, because I want to send that snare to the reverb return. And as soon as I'm on selected dot number 2, I go ahead and click that as a button with my jog wheel, and I can go ahead and add reverb to that snare. That's good right there. That actually sounds really good to me. Again, it's not obvious. It's not a night and day difference, but it's there. And that's pretty much it. And the last thing, you guys already know, I add Mother Ducker to my kicks and my samples. The reason why I do that is because it helps my kick just cut through the mix just a little better. And you can kind of feel the kick more than anything. So the way I did that on my sample program, make sure you're on your program, not on pads. On my sample program, I engage on my inserts. I put Mother Ducker. And then on my drums, I go not to my program. These 4 little squares is your actual entire program. I go to the single square, which is my single pad. Just on the kick, I add a Mother Ducker input. So once I have Mother Ducker input, I go ahead and I pretty much have the Mother Ducker triggering the sample. Now, so that sounds actually really good to me. And one last thing I'm going to touch up on is I'm using also a 4-band EQ on that kick. This 4-band EQ, guys, do not sleep on this. This is an amazing EQ. I've tried a lot of different EQs from Waves, from UAD on my Apollo, but this 4-band EQ is amazing. Open that up with the pencil, and I'm actually gonna EQ this with you guys. Again, keep in mind, I'm not gonna do no drastic changes. They're just subtle changes to help the kick cut through the mix a little better. So again, the way I use these things, I'll select the parameter. This is your frequencies. This is your Q point. So how much is affecting of that frequency range. And this is obviously your gain, how much you're adding to that frequency or cutting from that frequency. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with my lower frequency. So this is where my bass is. And I like to just crank it up drastically. So it's obviously gonna sound nasty, but I wanna find the frequency that I'm looking for, that I wanna attenuate or I wanna add more of. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit play and listen to this. So as you guys saw that right there, I don't know if you guys paid attention on how I'm using the EQ. And that's pretty much it right there. And one last thing that I am gonna go through, which this is actually really cool. You can do this all in the MPC, is go to your track mix. And on your track mix, say I want to add a EQ or a compressor or a limiter on my entire mix. So my master bus on the MPC one, again, where if you go to your mixer, I'm on returns, then you're on your programs. But if you keep scrolling through, you're gonna see masters. And when you're on your master, you can go ahead and go to insert and you can add EQ to your master mix or your entire mix, or you can add a compressor. In this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a EQ first. Again, this is gonna affect my entire beats, like everything together. I'll put this 4-band EQ, I'll engage that. I'm gonna listen to the track. As I'm listening to it, I might boost or take away certain frequencies, whatever feels like I need to do. So let's go ahead and do that. that was pretty much it right there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play the beat back. I'm going to turn it on and off. Every time you guys see this engaged on or light gray, that means it's turned on. When I turn it off, it means it's off. So let's go ahead and hear with and without. I don't know if you guys heard of that, but or I don't know if you guys hear that, but it just kind of pops out the whole entire track. It opens it up just a little bit. Now after that, I'm gonna add a compressor. So I'll go to my dynamics and let's try. There's a master compressor. Let's try out the master compressor and hear that. With compression, I'm not going to explain what it does because I don't even understand it fully 100%. So with this compressor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some drastic sounds. So it's going to sound nasty. It's not going to sound pleasing at all. But I just want to hear what is going on as I'm changing these parameters. Once I know what is happening or how much attack or release I should give it, I'll bring down the threshold so it's not too drastic. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's pretty much it right there, guys. What I like about the MPC one is that you don't see any faders or you don't see any parameters or gain reduction. You got to go by ear, and it's a little tough sometimes, but it's better to make decisions based off of how it sounds versus how it looks. So you just got to train your ears, and if it sounds right to you, then stick with it and go with it. This is kind of how you can go through and put a whole mix down. That's pretty much it, guys. You guys can kind of mix your whole entire song right here on the MPC one using the mix and returns, the plugins, the master plugins that you can put on your master mix. So in other words, you guys could really mix an entire song on the or in the MPC one, which is pretty crazy. When I first purchased it, I didn't think ever, like, I'm not gonna mix in the MPC one, I'll just do it in Ableton. But lately, I've been, messing around with these plugins and just trying them out, and they sound amazing. I've been able to get a very good mix out of the MPC one just using all their plugins. What I do want to do in the future is mix a whole entire song or a few songs all just entirely on the MPC one, and I would probably master them in Ableton. So just do the whole mix in the MPC one, master in Ableton, and just release those tracks. Just to see how it sounds is a challenge, but is more, you're more than capable of doing it. That's pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up right here. I hope you guys found some value in this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you guys have not already. Again, thank you guys for tuning in and taking the time. You guys have an amazing day.